Hi, everybody. Welcome to Busy Living Sober. Busy Living Sober. Busy Living Sober. It's Elizabeth Chance. Welcome to Busy Living Sober. This is your first time here. Welcome. So glad you came. And if you're back, nice to see you. Even though I don't really see you, let's be honest. I just have to say, I'm glad you're back. And I'm really excited. It's episode 459. Cannot believe that.
459 is a lot. Wow.
It's a lot. It's a lot. 7.5 years worth. Wow. A lot.
Let's get some listeners going today.
Let's get some people out there to listen. And I have
So what's
JF
happening?
here, my husband, JF Fagley. And our topic today that I pulled out of a hat, kind of, was recovery is possible. It's very interesting. I was watching the presidential debate last week, and what I found interesting, was it last week or was it the week
It was
before?
last week.
Yeah, it was last week.
Seems like a lot longer ago for
I know.
some
I
reason.
feel like time sometimes goes really quickly and then sometimes really slowly. But one of the things that they asked or question was, what do you believe in what's treating the people that are addicts out there?
Right.
And it's a family disease. That is for sure. This is not if you're an alcoholic, like not everybody around you in your family is getting it. It's like something that everybody gets. But I find it so interesting that when I'm even reading a book about this right now, which I'm actually having the author on next week, I think, or 2 weeks from now. And it's interesting that so many people perceive rehabilitation centers as places where you go and you get fixed and you're back and you leave the treatment center and you're all better, you're all cured. And you walk into your house and after leaving treatment and you getting your broken leg fixed or your broken arm fixed, it takes a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. And if I were going to say the free recovery is happening in rehab, wouldn't you say that?
Yes, I think I know exactly what you're saying, but you might explain it a little bit more for your listeners.
Okay, well, what do you think? So go.
What do I think you mean? You mean that the rehab is the place that you can go to and you're off the street, you're out of circulation, um, you're safe, and it's an okay place to like dry out and clean up for 30 days or however long you're going to be there. But then the real work starts once you get out of there. That's staying clean and staying sober.
Which is hard. It's really hard. I didn't go to treatment, and neither did you.
No.
No, we didn't. I didn't have the option. I had little kids, and it wasn't an option for me. But it's interesting because when they asked that question, what are you going to do? What to Joe Biden and to Donald Trump? They said, "What do you think about the fentanyl crisis, and how are you going to help all these people?" And it is such a, in my opinion, it's an epidemic we're living in. I've said many times that I know more people that died due to addiction than I do of COVID. And where our country is right now, it is kind of like we are in an alcoholic family. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, definitely, yes. Yeah. And I think in some of the alcoholics seem to be in charge at this.
I think that might be true. I mean, we know that Donald Trump's never had a drink in his life.
Correct.
Correct. But we know that there is a history of addiction in Joe Biden's family because we just all know that. It's been publicized. This is not something new. It's transparent out there. But what is going on? It's like you're good, you're bad. It's very interesting that Joe Biden's press secretary came out and she was asked, did you talk to a doctor after you had the debate? Did you see a doctor?
Cognitive test.
Yeah, but a doctor did it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was asked, Jean Paget, whatever her name is, and she said no. And then Biden comes out a couple of days later and says, yes, I did. So it's definitely reminds me of being in a manipulative relationship due to alcoholism or something, or addiction in general, because we say one thing, we mean another. Nobody really tells the truth, and it's really tough.
That is true, in that addiction, you never know what the truth is, or you just never know.
You never then, and right now we don't know. We're all just sitting here
Yeah.
going, "What's going on? Who's actually in charge here? What's
Mhm.
going on?" And it's really frustrating, and it prompts anxiety in people. It prompts fear. Fear is huge. Fear is huge today, and I can tell you that we went earlier today. It's actually we're in our little polo shirts because it's Sunday, and we were watching Wimbledon. And I want to give a shout out to Ben Sheldon because he did a fabulous job, I thought, today. And given he's been playing tennis like crazy, but we went to Home Goods before that, and I went into Home Goods, and there was a young man at the register, and he had his mask on, and he's young, very young, and the woman that waited on us was actually probably in her 70s,
Not so young.
not so young, did not have a mask on. She's like, "Oh yeah, these kids all wear masks for some reason. I don't even know why." And she's like, "It's kind of crazy." And again, that is fear. So we have this fear, 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 fear. And as a Christian, I believe that when we die, hopefully we go to heaven,
Mhm.
which would be nice, right?
It
And
beats the alternative for sure.
it does, and I think that's not, like, a horrible place to go. I mean, think about it. There's a lot of people that kill themselves, and they're, like, doing it in the name that they're gonna go to Allah. So, there are things out there that, say it's the better place to go is heaven.
Mhm.
But anyway, not to digress, which I started to go down some rabbit holes, I normally do, as you guys know, if you're a listener all the time. But what I find that we are living in this time where if they were to answer, I think, Joe Biden or Donald Trump, about what are we gonna do about this epidemic, I think they both couldn't answer the question, because I believe, and I wanna get your opinion on this, I'm not gonna talk the whole time, but I believe that, treatment in a lot of ways is a business. It's a multi-billion dollar business in our country. There's a lot of revolving doors, in and out, in and out, in and out. Um, it's the mental health of our country today that is so sad, and I feel like it's been brought on by the government in some ways. Um, and what is the answer? Like, I think that you can go to treatment, and if you want to go to treatment, you might get something out of it.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, shockingly, believe it or not, you can go to treatment if you don't wanna go to treatment, and you can still get something out of it.
Yeah.
That's true. It can't hurt, It's the people that go to treatment 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 times that you're like, "Gosh, they're seem to be wasting time and money."
Oh yeah, I met someone recently that's been I think person said they'd been to 21 treatment centers.
Mhm.
21.
And that's when you say, "Okay, this isn't working. Maybe we need to try something different."
Right. And it's scary because it is hard. I don't wanna poo-poo being sober as being easy, because it's not by any stretch of the imagination. And I I've mentioned it on last Wednesday's podcast that, life can be really challenging, and that little pill or that, um, drink, it just looks like it could be the answer and give you the answer to all your prayers, because right now life is so hard, and that's the only thing you can think to do.
Mhm.
And we're living in such tough times in terms of alcoholism and drug addiction and the fentanyl that's coming over the border. I mean, it's just it's dumbfounding. And I think that the question was a good question that they asked from CNN, but I think that it's an impossible question, because I think it's been a question that we've had for centuries, probably.
Yeah, it's certainly been a question that this country's had at a national level since, since I was at least a teenager anyway, maybe a little before that, whenever the war on drugs started. And
That was Nancy Reagan, wasn't it?
I think it was before Nancy Reagan. I think there was a war on drugs was before then, but it came, to the forefront when Reagan was president and Nancy was, the old, this is your brain on drugs thing. Um,
And the DARE program that she had.
right. And so, it's been on a national level, they've been working on it for a long time. Um, and it's funny because it's just one of those things where everybody's like, well, there has to be an answer. There has to be one thing that we can do that would be the answer. And That's just not the answer. It's it's a I think it's I know a lot of people that are clean and sober, and it's been a little, it's been different for every single one of them. Everybody's had a slightly different path to get to the same place. Um, and my own belief too is that, when the federal government steps in, then it makes it very difficult to get any kind of good result because they're very much about building boxes and then trying to shove everybody into a box. Um, and it doesn't work for any of their programs. It's certainly not going to work for the war on drugs. It's not. The best thing they could do would be to shut down the border and stop the flow of stuff coming in. That would certainly help. You
It
know.
totally would, because we don't know what's coming in, and it's really scary. I remember being when we were younger in the 80s and in the 90s, it was cocaine that was coming in, and it always was coming, into Florida of all places, of course.
Yes, that was a big, yeah. Seems like things have really quieted down in Florida. I don't know why.
I don't know, maybe it's our governor, but people aren't bringing them in here as much as they're coming through in Texas, as we all know, and our hearts go out to the people of Texas. But more and more people and more young people are going and they are doing fentanyl. They don't even know that they're doing fentanyl, and they die right away, and it's tragic. And the two of us come from families that have a lot of addiction in them,
Mhm.
and it is heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking. It's being a family member of this is just it's just so hard. You're just like, you're like, what can I do to fix this? How can I fix this? I'm gonna go put somebody in treatment for 28 days. If your insurance pays for it, it's very expensive. People have mortgaged their homes, done many things, help their family member. And for me, one of the biggest things that helps me and helps me every day is my relationship with my higher power that I call God. God, and having that relationship, which I've had my whole life, and I feel really blessed that I've had that, because I've never had to feel alone. I knew that there was something bigger out there. What it looks like, what it smells like, all the rest of that stuff. I for a long time I didn't know. Today I can say that it's Jesus Christ, but I believe in my heart that having a relationship with something bigger than you that you can't touch and you can't feel is so much more. It's like the best thing, because guess what? They're not fallible. That's not, my gosh, you did this, you did that. And I know people question God all the time when terrible things happen in their lives. And they're like, why did this happen to me? And I think that God gave us the option to make choices. So as humans, we get options, right? And especially in this world, there's so many options, right?
Mhm.
I I mean, even when it comes to treatment.
Oh yeah, there is a ton of options, and I agree with what you said. I heard something a few weeks ago, and I thought that was really good. It was actually from somebody that was kind of brand new into recovery, and he said, I got myself into this. This was the best I can do. So obviously, I need something, a power greater than myself, to get myself out of it. I can't do it, and I'm a firm believer that they say that that the drug or the drink is just a symptom of what the problem is. And I'm a firm believer that the problem is what you just talked about, is just an empty spot inside the hull, or an empty spot inside the soul, excuse me, that's only going to be filled up with God and love. That's the only thing that will fill it up. Um, and you one can try, as I have tried, many other things to try to fill it up. And they can give you, you know, a moment of joy, a little bit of happiness, but it's not long term because it wears off right away, and that's the only thing that really stays with you. So, and it's tough because we have, like, I feel like our country, even though it's always church and state have been separate, it didn't used to be as separate as it is now. I mean, now it's practically like a crime to bring up anything uh, Christian in any sort of government setting. And, but it needs to be, it doesn't necessarily need to be Christian, but it needs to be some relation with God that's going to really get people to be sober and stay sober.
Well, so, and I always, I remember Ben Shapiro saying, the best self-help book out there is the Bible.
Mhm.
And growing up, majority of houses in this country had a Bible, right?
And a flag.
And an American flag. And today, if you have an American flag, you're a Trumper. Like, you can't be just a regular American that loves their country and have a flag. Like, it's crazy.
It is crazy.
I
It
mean,
is,
think about that.
and it's like having a Bible. And I remember having a conversation with somebody we knew who they said, "Well, you can't leave a Bible out in your house." I'm like, why not? It's like, well, what if somebody comes in and they find it offensive? I was like, really? Is that where we are now? It's my house.
So I think that getting to this place where you are, I think it's like also telling the truth, really getting to that place that you can be 100% honest. And for better or worse, one of my biggest problems is I'm constantly honest. I talk a lot about myself and what's going on because being in my head by myself, I can't solve anything. So many people out there, I've heard from so many people. I just heard about somebody I know who their spouse is really sick and they don't want to ask for help. And it's too much to ask for help. I got it. I'm going to control it. I got control. And when we realize we have no control over anything, like literally, we have the only thing we really have control over is we don't have control over is having to pay taxes. Um, that happens every year, and, but everything else is up to pomp and circumstance, and what is our why are you laughing?
I'm just smiling with you.
Oh,
Mhm.
so, I always wonder, did I say something? But anyway,
I would tell you,
okay, thanks.
this is an honest podcast.
This is an honest, authentic podcast, obviously, the way
Uh-huh.
we're looking right now, but it's okay. But, what I think is what the imperative is here is like realizing that we have a humongous problem in our country and there is not one answer. We are not robots. I know they kind of want to treat us like we're in a group, like, being conservative. What did what is the president say that we're the most dangerous people that are out there are the conservatives and the Christians? It's like crazy. Anyway, like, can you believe that this is what people are saying right now? I mean, again, it's like we're in an alcoholic who says that? That's like what somebody would say in a drunken debauchery in someone's home with their family going, you know what? You're crazy because you're an alcoholic. You know what? You're crazy because you believe in God. Something wrong with you. Like that is like insane.
Well,
It's
the president actually described us as deplorables, if you remember.
yes,
Mhm.
we're deplorables. I don't feel like we're
No, we're
deplorable.
not.
No. We love our country. We love the fact that we get to make choices.
Absolutely.
I have to tell you that so many people have called me many times. I can't even count how many times and said, "Oh my gosh, I've got a loved one in my house that is battling this disease." Most of these people are over 18. And if you are over 18 in this country, you cannot be put into an institution unless you've been 302'd or 555, what is it called here?
Whatever it's called,
What
Baker acted.
Baker acted. But unless you, let's say, you want to kill yourself or you want to kill someone else, you can't put somebody in treatment. So you have this whirling dervish of a person in your home, kind of like the president, and just spinning and just throwing stuff out there, throwing stuff out there, throwing stuff out there, and manipulating and trying to get their way. And at what point does the grown up come in and say, okay, we're done. I've watched this party long enough. We got to get ourselves together. What is our plan? And I think having those honest conversations with somebody, which they sometimes call an intervention,
Mhm.
those honest conversations are really hard because they can be really painful. Families have these things happen all the time.
Well, and it's very scary. I see it's such a tough, difficult situation, but I think you hit the nail on the head because really, you wanna solve the problem, it has to start at home.
Yeah, it has to start at home. There's no other way for it to start. It's that's it.
Then the problem with starting it at home is that, uh, parents, I'm a parent, have such great fear that if they do the wrong thing, that their adult child in most cases, like you said, is gonna die. And, they will, threaten to kill themselves, or you worry that they're gonna overdose, or, whatever else it might be. And so you try to manage, 'cause that's what really people are trying to do. They're trying to manage the unmanageable. They're trying to manage somebody else's addiction to keep them alive. And the real truth is, and you're a big proponent of this, is that it's tough love. It just has to be. You have to save the family. If you don't have the family, then you have nothing. So you have to save the family first. And in my experience, when that occurs, the people seem to get clean and sober. It's not pretty and it's not easy, and they might go live in the woods for 6 months first. Uh, but you know, that's what it takes a lot of times.
Yeah, I've heard that too. And I've heard of people that have been like living in the woods behind their house and they have their parents are out there. You know who actually said this? Robert Kennedy Jr., who just celebrated 40 years of recovery. I want to say congratulations. But he talks about how his father kicked him out of the house and or somebody kicked him out of the house.
His stepfather.
His step, I don't know if it was it was somebody,
Yeah.
but anyway, kicked him out of his house and he's living out in the woods behind his house and he could see the family having dinner and it might not have been him, it might have been somebody else. But anyway, needless to say, they were throwing the person could see the mom coming out and bringing the child food just so the child had something to eat. But the child slept outside right behind their house and was watching their house. And that's what it takes. And sometimes parents, it's so hard to be the grown up. You're like, but I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want to be sad. I don't want them to be cry. I don't want to be, but guess what? We all have to cry. We all go through hard times. Everybody does. Nobody comes through this life unscathed. I don't even know anybody that hasn't come unscathed. And it doesn't matter how much money you have and how little money you have. Everybody has problems, and it's managing through the problems. And it's getting to the point down to basics, I think. And again, I mentioned just a couple seconds ago, we're not robots, right? So you want to do one, like this, the healthcare even in this country is totally wonked out and doesn't work whatsoever, as we all know is too. But we are individual and we each of us have a trauma that they've gone through. And one person's trauma to another person might be oblivious. One person might look at that one person's trauma and say, "Oh my gosh, you think that was bad? Let me tell you my story." And instead of being like this trumping of each other, not to use his name, but instead of going in and wanting to be like, "I'm bigger, I'm worse, I'm da 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 da," it's just taking everybody at face value where they are in their elevator. Because we all stop somewhere. And I use this analogy as an elevator in a huge tall building. Imagine that. And all of us get off at different points. And some, unfortunately, their point is the basement or death, right? And for some, it's like, a couple floors up and you're in the hospital or you're in a prison. And then some of us get off three-quarters of the way down and we realize, I mean, a quarter of the way down and we're like, "Oh my gosh, I got to get off here. It's scary enough for me. I've only drank for a year, but it's been horrible. And I've only been drugging for a year and I realize I don't want to do this anymore." But getting to that place, which is asking for help, which is so hard because I think we have such big egos.
Oh, and there's no doubt about it. I hate to ask for help.
I know.
Uh-huh.
It is. It's hard for people. Like, for me, I'm always like, I'm about to go out and there's hurricane gale force winds all around me, not literally, but figuratively. And how am I going to manage this? And it's getting to this place that you're like, okay, I've got to get humble enough to say, I can't do this by myself. I need help.
And like I said, once again, my experience is that not all people, but most people, if you let them get to the point where you know they have to ask for help, they will. But that's the problem with addiction in the family, is that the family is sort of seems to not want to let that happen out of fear.
Right. It's just like this is what's going on with the president right now. He doesn't want to go, "Hey, guess what? I'm not doing well. His wife should say, let's go to Bora Bora, wherever the heck they can go, and sit on the beach and say, guess what? We're going to just sit here and have our last days together, loving each other, and that's it. And this whole game is over. I call quits. I lose. I want lost. I'm done." And but that takes courage. It takes courage, like the courage of the lion in the Wizard of Oz. Like, it takes courage to admit you need help. It takes courage to say, "This isn't working anymore." it takes courage to reach out and, like, send a stranger an email, and I say thank you to all the people that have emailed me recently, and just to have the courage, you don't know me, and you're like, "I'm just gonna reach out to the stranger because I would hope you would know I'm gonna listen and I'm gonna respond to you right away." And, just to do a plug, if you wanna email me at elizabeth@elizabethchance.com.
And she does too.
I do respond right away. But I want you to know that when we're living in this total chaos, it makes sense that you wouldn't know what to do next. What do I do? My loved one is spiraling out of control. What do I do? Now, I have not lived through this personally with my children. Thank you, God, knock on wood. I gotta find some wood. Thank God. I haven't had to yet. And I mean, you've had to deal with this personally yourself.
Hmm. I have, and so I can tell you that the real answer is let go and let God. Um, you do the best you can as a parent, but uh, there's a couple firm rules that I have, and one is if you don't give somebody the opportunity to sink, they'll never learn how to swim. And and you have to do that, and you have to have faith and trust that God's going to take care of things the way they need to be, because we as humans we can't do it. I say you just fall into the trap of trying to manage the behavior and trying to manage the addiction, and it's impossible for us to do that. It really is. And so my experience was that people turn themselves around when they have to. And so, as a parent, the best thing I can do is give that person the opportunity to have to change. You know,
But that wasn't easy.
no, no, it was really hard, and it was, and I, I've been through a lot, and if I were to do it again, I would do it much differently. That's for sure. Um, but I did fall into that trap initially of trying to manage the person, the situation, the addiction, the outcome, and trying to get things to end up the way I thought they're supposed to end up. Like it should, if everything goes well, it's going to look like this. And but unfortunately, turns out JF is not God, and doesn't matter what I want it to look like, because I can tell you that I gave that up a long time ago in almost all areas of my life, because nothing ever turns out the way I want it to turn out if that's the direction I choose to take for myself. So I'm blessed that I don't really suffer from that thinking anymore. You know, I don't really worry too much about how things are going to turn out. I just worry about, what am I supposed to be doing while I'm on the journey, and I get to find out how things are going to turn out when I get there, when it happens. You know, but ultimately, I had to give that person the opportunity to get in a situation where it was literally change or die. You know, literally.
Yeah.
And most people will choose change over die.
But it was hard because it was in an alcoholic family, right?
Oh
Because
yeah,
you
and
you
I
were
was
divorced
terrified.
and
Like,
you had all this stuff. I mean, just like it is right now in the country we live in. I mean, one was saying one thing and one saying the other, and they aren't coming together at any place. So it's just
no, no, and then and what's the joke? The cosmic joke is the thing that I wanted to avoid so much was the thing that absolutely happened. Which turned out to be, in hindsight, a good thing. So I wasted a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of emotional capital, um, for no reason at all.
letting go,
Bam.
letting go. It's really interesting because I just spoke at a meeting actually on Perry Street in New York City. It was on Zoom. I didn't fly to New York. But I was talking about step one and being powerless, like powerlessness. And we read okay, I'm powerless. Okay, what does it feel like to be powerless? That's like I had to get there, and we are, of course, coming to you with almost 18 years of recovery, and he has a quarter of a century of recovery. So we are here with a bunch of knowledge and been in this a long time. And I grew up in a family that was crazy alcoholic. So, and so did he. So we've pretty much ever since we were born, we've been 1968, 1961, and we've been doing this a long time and watching a long time. And it is so incredible that the biggest thing that breaks up families is this alcohol and drugs. It's like so crazy to me. And it's so hard for everybody just to get on first base and to get to that place where everybody says, I surrender. So everybody in the family has to wave a white flag.
Hmm.
That's like powerlessness to me. Everybody comes out and goes, okay, here I'm up, I'm done. I'm have both hands in the air. I'm ready to just go. I'm done. I don't know what to do. I don't have the right answer. I'm definitely not God. I got no control of this kid. I've got no control of my spouse. I got no control of these siblings or kids or whatever. And you get to that place, and that's what I learned in the rooms was that, step one, being powerless is a really hard thing to grasp.
Oh, it is, especially from, and you've said it many, many, many times, but from the parent seat, it's like, what do you mean I'm powerless over my kids? Like, I can tell my kids what to do. I can make them be what they're supposed to be. I can, you think you have all this power, but you really don't.
You
You
have
know,
no power.
you have control over them until they're a certain age, and then
All bets are
it's
off.
gone.
All bets are off. So having that sense of like, all right, everybody give up. We're done. We're gonna sit. We're gonna go back to basics. Like that's literally one, two, three. It's ABC. It's literally that. It can't be with. It has to be like a clean. Even though you've probably been together for 20 years, or you've been together for 10 years, or even just 5 years, or even 1 year, and you're just like, I've got to get a clean plate, like a clean white plate with nothing on it. And we've got all this stuff that happened behind us, all this stuff. And we can't go back and change that, right? Because nobody has a time machine that
Nope.
I know of, except for Michael J. Fox.
And no, he doesn't even have one either.
No, he doesn't now, but in the movie, I'm trying to make jest of this. But being powerless is the sense that I have to realize whatever I've been doing is not working. Every idea I have, not working. Every plan I have, not working. So I just have to go, all right, I'm letting this go. And to me, it's also like when I was young and you were young at gym, which we all gym every day. One of the things you had to do was do the free fall into your friends, and you'd be standing there and they'd be like, okay, I want you to stand up and I want you to fall back into this group of your friends.
With your
So
eyes
with
closed,
your
right?
eyes closed. So you'd be like this, and you'd get there and you'd be like, okay, they caught me. But that's faith. That's faith to me. It's that whole being able to go, you know what? I'm just going to let go. I'm just going to let go. I'm not going to hold on to anything. I'm going to let it all disappear. I just have to get back to basics. One, two, three, like the cha cha. And then from there, if you come to believe in a power greater than yourself, as I mentioned earlier, it was God, and that was probably the only step, but really coming to believe that I had to come to believe that what I had been doing was insane. What I was doing was insane. Like what we're going through right now is insane. It's just crazy. It's so insane what's going on in our country right now. It's so 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 4. It's like literally an alcoholism. So when you realize, okay, I've given up,
Hmm.
I have to have a power greater than myself. And I have to admit to myself that what I've been doing so far is insane because I keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I expect a different result. And that's not that hard because most of us are insane anyway, because we all do this. Like, I'm not special that I went through this
No, you're not.
at
And
all.
and if it's it, I can say this: if it's unpalatable for somebody to say, "Well, I have to admit I'm insane," I think it's not unpalatable to you just have to get to the place where saying, "You know what I'm doing is not working. It's just not working. What's happening here is not working. I need to try something else. And I've thought of everything I can think of, so it's time for me to get somebody else's thoughts on it. And that's really how it worked for me anyway. Was that I just came to the realization of like, my way doesn't work anymore, and so I need to be open to something else, and that opened me up to the idea of God, maybe
God.
of
Yeah.
maybe God has a plan, and maybe that's what I should try to be on board with instead of my plan, which doesn't work at all ever.
And I always think to myself, like when I first came into the program, when I first got sober, I remembered feeling that sense of powerlessness. And when I heard these steps, by the way, prior to when I walked into those rooms and I said, I need help, my life was dark. It felt very dark. I felt like I had no choices. I was riddled with fear, anxiety, all of those horrible adjectives. And when I was able to say, all right, I'm powerless and there is a God, it's not me, that brought the light in.
Mm.
That brought the light in. I was like, okay, wait a minute. I don't have to do this by myself. I can trust in God. And there are some people around me that seem like they've got their, stuff together so I can talk to them. And that was freeing. And getting to that place where we're in the light again. I mean, God used to be so big in our country. I mean, people would go to churches and synagogues and mosques or wherever you went, and it was okay. That's why our country was actually founded, is so you can make your own choices. And but we all, even though we had different choices and we had different beliefs, we all were one country, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I mean, literally, we were all under one country and we were like, all right, you might believe like that and we respect you enough, but we all live here in this place that we love and we cherish. And that's why we have this flag outside. And that's why neighbors and friends and relatives have been sent off to war to fight for our freedoms. But if we just get to this place like none of that matters, and it's all dark. And I don't believe that. I believe that we all inherently believe the same thing, that, you know what? That's why we love America. That's why all these people are coming in droves. I mean, I can't think that they're all coming here to kill us. I have to think that some of them are coming here because they just want freedom to be able to feed their children.
It's the land of opportunity still.
Still,
It's the greatest country in the world still.
yeah, it's like, to love it and not be for Trump and still hang a flag would be, of course, what you would do. Like, it doesn't matter who you're voting for, because what you do believe in is our country.
Mhm.
And what you do believe in when you're getting sober is yourself. You believe in yourself. If you're the mom of the child, you believe in yourself and you are strong enough for your child that you're like, I am willing to do whatever it takes to help you get to the next phase of your life. And sometimes that's kicking you out on the street. And how hard that is as a mom or dad is is uh is something I don't want to poo-poo, because it's huge and it hurts so freaking bad. And especially if you're in recovery and you can't go have a glass of wine, or you can't go take a pill because that's not your deal anymore. And sitting in something that feels uncomfortable is hard. But knowing that that uncomfortable feeling won't last forever.
No, the beauty of being in recovery for a while is that, that you don't wanna go get a glass of wine or go take a pill when there's trouble. I mean, it's not a thought. It's not something you think about. Not something I think about anyway. I think about a lot of things, but I don't think about that.
Maybe when you were going through maybe some of your hard times in the beginning, maybe.
Early on,
Yeah. I'm sure. I
and
mean,
and
now you
then
have 25 years. I
but
mean,
I was amazed that, I was just amazed that things that happened, even in like, in the first 10 years of being clean and sober, and I would get through it and I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I realized I went through that whole thing and I never once thought about using anything."
yeah.
It just never the thought didn't occur to me, and, and that's a blessing from God. God puts you in action. He puts me in action. That's what you do.
Yeah,
You know?
and it's true. I mean, I really
I can tell you, along with that, I mean, the hardest one of the hardest phone calls I ever had in my life was, when my son called up and said, "I'm in jail. Will you bail me out?" And I said, "Well, I'll have to think about it. You'll have to call me back in a week." And it was the best answer that I could come up with at the time. And I didn't say yes, and I didn't say no.
Give me some time.
And yeah, and so I hope nobody else ever has to get that phone call because it's a very difficult phone call.
And I want everybody out there to know that you're not alone. And I don't think, again, I thought it was a good question that they asked at CNN, but I don't think it was a question that had like an answer that's just like so firm. It's like, we're going to arrest you or whatever. Like, obviously, there's laws that if you go, well, I guess there aren't anymore. What am I talking about? I just saw a total store. I was like, if you rob a store, but no, today, if you rob a store, you still don't have to go to jail. But which is so, I mean, in Florida, I think you still do. I
Mhm.
don't think you do in a lot of other states. I know in Florida, I think you still do, but I'm not positive to that either. But part is getting realizing that you're, for one, you're not the only one out there dealing with this. If that's a huge question at a presidential debate, you're not alone. And you have
That's
to know
true.
that. And you have to know that. And I think that when we come together as human beings, because we all have the light inside of us, that we can find hope and we can find peace and we can find love and we can find compassion, but we need to come together. And if we are still like in, it really feels like a divorced family, like we're going through a divorced family. Like one parent's over here screaming and the other parent's over here screaming, and you're like, wait a minute, I love both people because they both have something I kind of like, and I'm running from one side to the other side. I don't really love the other person that much, but whatever, they're there right now, and they are in charge of this country, and you want to have like, where am I supposed to go? Which side am I supposed to choose? And we just all can come to one realization that we at least love our country more than we love anything else. And we believe in it no matter anything else. And when you put down alcohol and you put down drugs and you take a deep breath and you come to some real truths about yourself, you can start building back better. I'm serious, because once you do, you can just get to this place like we are going to have that white, clean plate, and I'm going to start it off, and it's going to have pretty things on it, and I'm going to make different choices, and I'm not going to regret the past, and I'm not going to wish to shut the door on it. I'm just going to want to be like, that is part of me, just like my wrinkles.
Yep. Yep. Your story is your story, and it doesn't matter. At least, in my opinion, anyways. Like what already happened, it really doesn't matter. You know, the only thing that matters is what's happening right now. Because and what's going to happen, who knows? I don't know
But
anything. So the only thing that really matters is what's happening right now, and that's the place to live. That's where life is happening in this moment.
and just to finish, in this moment, it's amazing, right? If you just sit and you turn off all the noise and you're just there and you're like, wait a minute, I'm for one, you're probably listening to this on your smartphone or watching this on your computer or listening in your radio of your car. Like, that's a lot more than a lot of people in the world ever have. And when we are alive, up and breathing, we're alive, we're breathing. Get quiet just for 1 second. Everything's okay. Because when you're alive and when you're breathing, you can get better. You can get better. You will get better. And it may take time, and it may take falling down and getting back up again, falling down again, getting back up again. But it's not the way you dance or how you get there. It's just that you get to the finish line and you go, you know what? I own it all of it. I always say I'm going to slide into those golden gates in heaven and say, damn, that was, and, but it's work.
Oh yeah, yeah. Life is life. Takes some effort.
Takes some effort.
Mhm.
But have some, if you know what you like and you believe in something, believe in it. Don't be ashamed. Don't be scared. Hold your head high, especially as an American.
Yep. Yep. Seems like we've lost a lot of pride in America somehow.
I don't know why that happened, and it happened so quick.
Well, yeah.
I don't feel like I'm that old. And it literally, from when I was growing up, it was like everybody had a flag, everybody voted differently. It didn't really matter. Everybody had different jobs. Everybody was still friends. Everybody still got together.
Mhm.
And it didn't really matter. It's just like we all got together and had differences. And some people had looked a little bit better than the other people, but it didn't really matter. Wasn't about any of that. It wasn't about any of that. It's like, wait, we believe in this, we believe in that. Okay, cool. Let's go play tennis. Let's do something together.
I think it was accentuate the positive back then, and
Yeah.
somehow now it's accentuate the negative.
But
But we don't have to do that.
no, we get to be optimistic and we get to believe and we get to tell you that things will get better. I know it.
They always get better.
They always get better.
Always.
It might get a little bit worse now before it gets better again, but we're strong. We're a strong bunch, aren't we?
Absolutely.
And if this is happening in your family, if you've got drug addiction in your family and you feel like this is just insane what we're living in, I get it. It's so true. And I don't want to tell you it's not. It's true. This is hard. This is hard. And it's hard not to be frustrated. It's hard to say I'm going to change. It's hard to do things differently. But I can tell you, if the will's there, you can make it happen.
Mhm. Yeah. And all you have to do really is just be willing to say, "My way doesn't work." It's that simple.
That's it. Just get to this place where you're like,
Mhm.
I let go. And that's step 3. And I just got to let go. I just got to let go. And the noise, a big thing is the noise because there's so much noise now. And sometimes you just have to sit back, turn off the TV, turn off the iPhone, get a book, get a game, get a puzzle. It's the summer. Get back to basics.
Yep. I'm lucky. I'm one of those Luddites that doesn't have social media on anything. So
Oh, yeah, he doesn't have anything. But, and I'm going to end with this because it is 4th of July weekend and, well, it's the end of 4th of July weekend and it's Independence Day. And it's something we can be proud of America. And I'm from the middle of the country. So obviously I am from St. Louis and, growing up, it was just apple pie, baseball, beer, some friends hanging out. I obviously don't do the beer anymore, but I still love that sense of America where I'm from, and I believe that we all have that little bit of that sense of America inside of us, and I think we have to all go find it.
yep, right there.
Did you like today's show?
I did. I always liked shows with you.
Oh, thank you. I love having you.
You're my favorite podcaster.
Oh, thank you, because
Uh-huh.
he listens to so many. Not well. If you're here for the first time again, I wanted to say thanks for listening, and if you're back, I love that you're here. And please share this podcast if you enjoy it with your friends, your loved ones. And just get busy living sober. It doesn't matter. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow's not here yet. All we have is today. Enjoy today. Enjoy this Monday. And until next time, everybody, keep getting busy. Living sober. Bye, everybody. Take care.